Hi, thank you for joining me in this episode. Today is our first episode of Women in Science. We have the power to change the world. My name is Yifan Gao, a PhD candidate from University of California at Los Angeles. My department is Civil and Environmental Engineering. I'm also the International Student Event Officer at GradSWE UCLA. GradSWE stands for the Graduate Student Committee of the Society of Women Engineers, and we are a UCLA section. We are going to host a series of interviews to female scientists, and we hope we can encourage more women to join the community of STEM. Our first guest is Dr. Jingqiu Liao, the assistant professor from Virginia Tech. Dr. Liao's department is also civil and environmental engineering. Her research areas include environmental microbiomes, environmental surveillance of foodborne pathogens, and antimicrobial resistance, ecosystem sustainability, microbial ecology, and evolution. Hi, Dr. Liao. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you here, and we are so honored to have you as our first guest.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, to get started, if you could please tell us a little bit about yourself and your lab. So I know you prepared some slides. Should you just please go ahead and share your screen?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Jingqiu. I recently joined the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at Virginia Tech as an assistant professor. So here I'm leading a research group called LEAF, which we study environmental and public health microbiology. Okay, so we all want sustainable environment, safe food, and live a healthy life. So what plays an important role in all of this? To me, that's microbes. So in our group, we study those tiny but powerful creatures. We are particularly interested in microbes in the natural environment and also food-associated environments like agricultural soil, food processing plant, etc. So to put it simple, we are looking for good microbes. So the microbes that can improve the sustainability, the safety of the environment. And of course, the bad microbes, so microbes that making troubles. So for good microbes, we are using system biology approach to investigate the microbiome. So that's all the microbes in a given environment. So we're using this approach to look for the good microbes. And for the bad microbes, we are particularly interested in the foodborne pathogens, so pathogens that can transmit via food, and also antimicrobial resistant microbes. So through study their ecology and evolution, we aim to facilitate the predictive and mechanistic understanding of the microdiversity, their functioning, and how they interact with the environment. And finally, we aim to deliver actionable solutions to improve sustainability, food safety, and public health. So in our group, we employ a wide range of approaches and tools to fulfill our goals. That includes field sampling from like local scale, regional scale to very large scale. Multiomics, like genomics, metagenomics, and also data analytics, which includes machine learning. And to complement this data-driven approach, we also use bench work, like experimental experiments to validate the finding from this data-driven approach. So here I'm showing an example that a research that I did in my past during my PhD. That is, we did the environmental surveillance of Listeria in the natural environment in soil across this country. So that's here, this map shows the distribution of Listeria in that. So that's a very large scale study. And that's something like similar, what we are doing similar here in our group. Okay, so also I want to highlight the data analytics here, because here not only I do research, but also I'm teaching. So this semester I'm teaching the course analytics in CEE, which teach students to use Python, programming, and statistics to solve civil and environmental engineering problems. Okay, so the research in our group can roughly divide it into 3 trajectories. The first one is ecosystem health and microbiomes. Second is food safety and foodborne pathogens. And third is antimicrobial resistance in the environment. So for the first trajectories, we basically ask what are the ecological forces that influence the environmental microbiomes, and how predictable of ecosystem using microbiomes. And ultimately, we want to know like how we can utilize microbiomes to improve ecosystem health. So this trajectory is mainly built upon my previous work in the microbiomes in oil contaminated soil, microbiomes in the freshwater lakes, and also the microbiomes in the vaginal ecosystem. And for the second trajectories, these food safety and foodborne pathogens, we basically ask what is the distribution of foodborne pathogens in natural and food-associated environments, how they adapt to very diverse environments, and how importantly, how we can, what tools we can develop to prevent their growth and transmission in those environments. Right, so this trajectory is mainly built upon my previous work, mainly my PhD work, like the foodborne pathogens like Listeria in natural and food-associated environments. Salmonella is another very important foodborne pathogen in different hosts like bovine and humans, and E. coli in produce fields. Okay. So the third trajectory is more about the environmental dimension of antimicrobial resistance. And the questions that we ask in this dimension is, what are the ecological and evolutionary forces influence AMR's antimicrobial resistance acquisition in the environmental microbiomes and also foodborne pathogens, okay, and how we can prevent their spread in the natural and food-associated environments. And this is mainly built up on my previous work on the antimicrobial resistance salmonella. And for my postdoc, I also did some investigation on the antimicrobial resistance in the microbiomes in the vaginal ecosystem. Okay, so that's about my research, and I also want to share a little bit my background, like how I landed here. So I grew up in Sichuan province in China, which is also the hometown of the giant panda. And then I moved to Beijing and obtained my bachelor degree in ecology and master degree in environmental science. And in 2015, after a super long haul flight, I landed in the United States and started my PhD in microbiology at Cornell. And after my PhD, I got 2 years training at Columbia University as a postdoc. And this year, in August, I moved to Blacksburg and joined Virginia Tech as an assistant professor. So in my spare time, I enjoy photography, tennis, the music, and also play with my child. So I have a 1-year-old daughter. She really keeps me sane in this crazy world. And I also used to have a pair of parakeets. Unfortunately, they already left us, but they are forever family. So I also want to highlight them here. Yeah, I think that's it. And for now, as you can see, I just start my research group. We are building a team. So if you watch this video, got interested in those research topic, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We are looking for motivated graduate and undergraduate students to join us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I believe after this amazing introduction, there will be a lot of students want to join your lab. Yeah. So I want to jump right in and ask you some questions.
Sure.
So I noticed that you took several leaps on your majors. So you started with ecology, but then you changed to environmental science for your MS degree. for PhD, you become a microbiologist in Cornell, and then you also have
Mm-hmm.
research experience in MIT, right?
Yes.
So for MIT for the environmental engineering, and for postdoc, you transfer to medical school to study system biology, if I'm right. So I'm really curious about your story behind your diverse education background. I know a lot of students are thinking about switching majors to explore other fields. They might from like chemistry, but they want to study environmental engineering. Would you mind sharing your experience and advice with us?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't change my majors randomly. I
Yeah,
changed because of something that remained unchanged. So that's my passion to interdisciplinary study and microbes. So I choose ecology as my bachelor degree because ecology is a very interdisciplinary subject, right? It involves biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics. Um, so during my course of bachelor study, I got very interested in the complex interactions between the environment and organisms. So I furthered my study for a master's degree in environmental science. I would say that this switch makes a lot of sense, right?
yeah,
Environmental science is very closely related to ecology, and it's also very interdisciplinary.
yeah.
So
That's true. Yeah,
yeah, so during my master's study, I found my second passion that's in microbe. So I was involved in a research project in which we investigated the microbial community in the oil contaminated soil. And I learned that some microbes in the soil are able to degrade oil, degrade the petroleum. That really caught me because like petroleum reminds me the disgusting, like the awful smell
yeah,
of the gas from the release from the vehicle, right? And eating petroleum can kill us, like can kill human beings, but it doesn't kill microbes. Instead, they really enjoy eating that. So
yeah. Microbes are really magical, right? That's the beauty of microbes.
yeah, so I really
Yeah,
found, like you said, very magical, and I found microbes are very powerful, especially given its tiny size.
yeah,
And so I was fascinated about that and wanted to learn more about microbes, like what they are doing, their function. So I applied for PhD programs related to microbiology and got into Cornell. And the microbiology program at Cornell really exposed me to diverse fields that people study microbes. I had the chance to work with professors from different departments and learn that okay, microbes not just playing a role in the environment, but also food safety. And I got
yeah,
interested in that. So for my PhD, I studied the ecology and evolution of foodborne pathogens. But I never forget about the environment. So
Parent, yeah,
I just like what I just showed in my presentation, right? The biggest project that I did for my PhD is to survey listeria in the natural environment. Um, yeah, so after like my PhD, I got to explore microbes in the environment and also in the context of food safety. And we all know that microbes play an important role in human health, like they influence our health directly. There are tons of microbes living in our body, right? So I decided to switch field and want to learn more like the important roles of microbes. So that leads me to study like human microbiome for my postdoc. So I
yeah,
studied the role of vaginal microbiome in preterm birth. So yeah, so that's my experience. Like my current research group is definitely built upon my diverse research experience and this interdisciplinary education. And I do find that's very beneficial. So for students who are thinking about switching majors, I would say that first, find your passion, and
Yeah.
then be bold to jump out of your comfort zone and try different things. So working with people from different fields really can broaden your horizon, right? So you learn knowledge from different fields, you gain interdisciplinary skills. And nowadays, I would say that to solve like very big real world problems, those knowledge, those skills are highly appreciated. For example, to combat this pandemic, it's not just the biologists working on that, not epidemiologists working on that. Everyone is working together. So if you have the skills from different fields, you win, right? That's a very advantage. So yeah, so I guess that's it. That's my advice. First find your passion and go for it.
Yeah, also changing majors like have a diverse background. It's very flexible because I remember you mentioned to me like during the pandemic, because you have like microbiome analyze the microbiome community analyze background, so you can work dry lab instead of like to working in wet lab. I think that's like post-pandemic experience that we can give to students. Yeah.
Make you more flexible to deal with like unexpected issues, right?
Issues. Yeah, that's true. So that's why your lab is really good. You combine dry lab and wet lab. So that's basically like a perfect design for the lab post-pandemic, I would say. Yeah. Okay. So I have another question. Like, so based on your whole experience, what made you to finally choose to become an environmental engineers? Is it just because the petroleum degrading bacteria, or is there any other reason?
Yeah, so actually there are a couple of reasons. First of all, like what I just shared, you can tell that I care about the environment at the beginning, right? And to me, environment is just not only environment, it's also concerned about food safety, concerned about public health. If you think about, for example, there potentially there pathogens may transmit from natural environment to, for example, food production chain or to human directly, right? So I think being in the environmental engineering field gives me space to not just think about the health of environment, but also think about the food safety, think about human health. So think about really big questions. So I really like that. And the second reason is that so during my previous research, the questions that I mainly ask are more based on like more basic science based questions.
Yeah.
So at some point, I start to think like how my research can actually benefit our life, actually improve our society. So I wanted to be more like down to the earth. And we know that people in environmental engineering are tackling real world problems, right? So I really want to be part of that. And the third reason is, like I said, now things are very interdisciplinary. And it's not unlike past, like engineers only work on their own, scientists work on their own, like they really need to work together. So I want to be one of the people that act as a bridge between engineers and scientists. So like link between basic science and applied science. So we can first do some basic studies, like basic research, find something, and then we can translate into practice and make it applicable to solve real world problems. So yeah, and being in the environmental engineering allows me to do that. So that's basically the main reasons that I end up in a CE department.
Yeah, I totally get you. So I'm an environmental engineering major the whole time, like starting from the bachelor. So right now I'm like, what should I do about the science? Like right? Because I'm always in the engineering field and thinking about science. I think yours like backwards. So you were like in microbiology field, like the scientist for the whole time, and then you're thinking about engineering field and to do some really like down to the earth work. Okay, so another question is for our organization because we are a society of women engineers. So my question is to be an environmental engineer. I believe that's a really big decision. So even though you have passions, you have everything. So as a female scientist, what challenges have you met in the way that you make these big decisions for your degrees and your academic lives? For example, you chose to study abroad. You took like a really long flight from Beijing to the US. So what's the challenges have you met as a female scientist?
Okay. So when I decided to pursue a PhD, I do hear some unpleasant voice or the opinions that I hardly agree with. For example, people will say to me, after you get your PhD, you will be very old. And with a PhD, it's probably difficult for you to find a partner or have a family. But when I hear those voice, what I did is just roll my eyes and do whatever I want. So strictly speaking, these are actually not challenges to me, but the real challenge that I was facing was the question that when to have children, when to have a child. So even though I don't care about age, but ironically, fertility is influenced by age, or that is biology, that is science that we cannot deny. So, and I know that I want children, but I also know that having children may compromise my productivity, and this may influence my career path in academia, right? So it really took me a long time to figure out the right timing. But then I realized that in this context, there's no actually right or wrong. So I took a risk, had a baby before I got a permanent job in academia. And at first I was quite concerned, but I must to say that the jobs that I have joined are all very supportive. So I really appreciate that. And so it was not as bad as I first imagined. So it worked. But it was a challenge that hindered during like when I pursue my career in academia. But eventually it worked.
Yeah, I like the eventually it works. You know, it encouraged a lot of female scientists, like they wanted to pursue academia life, but they're thinking about their personal lives. You know, so your experience will give them confidence, like academia life won't conflict with the personal life. So that's really cool, I would say. Like when I first met you, I know you're the coolest mom, like career and also really good family. So that's okay. My next question is, you're setting up your own lab, you just mentioned, as the independent PI, the principal investigator. And also you're parenting a young baby. That's a lot of stuff. So you just mentioned you were thinking about like having a baby before you're pursuing the PhD and academic life. But right now you're actually having a baby, and right now you're a PI, right? You're a PI for a big university and will become a big lab. So I'm just wondering, like, what are you gonna do, like, to kill all the obstacles and to make your life better? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, I don't consider like having children as obstacles.
Yeah.
Having, to me, it's actually motivation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what makes me feel better is when I get tired of work, like then I go to take care of my child, and I consider that as a relaxing time, get away from working and relax yourself by taking care of the child. And then after you get tired of taking care of a child, and you go back to work, and you think that, oh, that's another relaxing time. So I really think that think positively can make
Oh,
things
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So that helps. And second, I think time management is really important. So
Mm-hmm.
use the time wisely. Um, Others 24 hours could be 48 hours to you. So for example, have some like habits, have to-do list every day that can help to better manage your time. And third, I would like to say that I don't want to give people a feeling that in order to balance work and family, you need to be a superwoman. It's
Oh,
not that the case. To me, a very big reason that things work out because I have a very supportive family. So I think everyone should know that it's not like taking care of children is not women's sole responsibility. It should be shared within the family, and it's not just women needs to balance work and family, right? Men also needs to do that. So I would say that if you like you're thinking about like plan to have kids and also want to continue working, definitely discuss this with your partner. And this shared responsibility, like taking children physically and also mentally, this should be something agreed upon before things happen. So yeah, so I really want to emphasize that. I think women probably are has been asked about like how
yeah.
to balance this a lot, but few men got to ask about this. This should
Yeah,
be a
that's true.
question
That's
also
true. Yeah.
ask men. Like yeah, so if it's shared, our life could be much easier.
Yeah, I heard a lot of voice like you can only choose one. Like you can only choose your career or you can only choose your family. But I
Yeah.
think that could be like together. Also,
Mm,
you are so right. Like it's not the obstacle, it's
mm.
actually a motivation. Because
Right.
my mom had me during her graduate school. Like
Oh,
my
cool.
grandma helps like obviously, but also I know it's like I motivated her. I hope, mom, I motivated you for your graduate school, and also, and also, I think it's really valuable experience. Like have a supportive family to talk before you actually make the big decision. I think.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So talking about female, so I talk about my mom. My mom is actually my role model
Uh-huh.
because she is also a professor. So I feel like that gave me a lot of confidence to pursue my academia life. So
Uh-huh.
my question would be, do you have any female role model that you look up to as you were pursuing your career?
Yeah, I talk about my mom, like
Yeah,
especially since young when we write those articles, right? What's your role
yeah,
model? I wrote about my mom a lot, so I will say something different this time.
mhm,
First, woman role model that I have is uh Chinese tennis, a professional tennis player called Li
mhm,
Na.
yeah,
So yeah, you know her.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so she's very famous. So I would say that she is not that talented. I mean, she's definitely talented compared to ordinary people, but
yeah,
among those like so many professional tennis players, she is not that talented. Her the early stage of her career was actually not that successful. She got her first Grand Slam championship when she was nearly 30 years old. So that's pretty late for
yeah,
professional tennis player. But she did it. And she demonstrated the to the world that Chinese people can do that. So that really inspired me a lot. And after my like career goal got more clear, I have another female role model. So that's Yan Ning.
Yeah,
She also works
she's
in,
also my role model.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's also in academia. So yeah, you know her. Many, I believe many like students in the field of biology knows her. She's a very famous structural biologist. I remember once, I don't know if you also remember, like she once shared that during the first year or 3 years of her PhD, all her
I
experiments
remember that.
failed, right?
Yeah,
But she never gave up, and finally they worked out, and if I remember correctly, it was a big like breakthrough in her field. So the similarity, like those two role models that I just mentioned, um, is their perseverance. Right? They are
yeah,
both very tough people, and I really admire that. And also, they influence me a lot. So
yeah. Yini is also my role model. So I'm not a tennis player. I know Nina, but I'm not quite familiar with her, like her life and her experience. But
yeah.
I know Yanning because I'm also interested in microbiology. So I think, yeah, definitely I look up to her as well. Yeah. So to the end, I want to ask you a question for all the female students that want to pursue STEM. So, do you have any advice that you would offer to young women who are thinking about pursuing a STEM related field? Not young women, like all the women who are thinking about pursuing a STEM field, like
Yeah.
STEM.
So again, I think find your real passion
Yeah,
first, and then go for it. So I think in STEM nowadays, the door has already been opened to women, but we cannot deny that the door is still heavy. But it's getting better. There are more resources made available to women. For example, um, like in many new buildings now, they have like nursery rooms for nursing moms, and also we know that there are more and more fellowship or scholarship just for women. So um, things are getting better. So if you have dream in STEM, stay. And we need more women in STEM, and we help each other so that we can like fulfill our dream, make contributions, and achieve self values. Right.
self
So
values. Yeah, actually be a strong woman. Yeah.
yeah, be a
Okay.
tough
Tough woman and strong.
woman.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for joining me for today's episode. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Women in Science. We have the power to change the world. Please join us for our next episode to hear more from female scientists about their amazing stories.